Every visible thing on earth casts a shadow, even you and me. That's why some people love us and others don't. Even a crown has thorns. Would you really like to be Queen Elizabeth with all the responsibilities she has carried for most of a century? Listen, constant sunshine makes a desert. Think about that. Artists tell us half the beauty of the world is because of its shadows. If you were puzzled and in real trouble, would you seek counsel from a person who's had an easy life or a person whose life had been burdened with many shadows? About 2,000 years ago, a man was stripped naked and put on a cross, there for 6 hours. After 3 hours passed, the skies suddenly became black. The sun refused to look at the scene. And then that man spoke, and light flashed upon the world. Who is this man that by his words could bring light to the whole world? Some of you are saying, Des, don't give me that religious stuff. Well, my dear friend, may I remind you that a life without love is barren. It's only a shambles. You know what a shambles is? A butcher's slaughter shop. I want to suggest to you today that there is a God, and his love is infinite, as much beyond the love of any human being as God in person is above the person of anyone on earth. I'm sure you've all heard of Bobby Burns. He wrote a beautiful little poem about human love. Here it is. As fair art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I will love thee still, my dear, till all the seas gang dry. Till all the seas gang dry, my dear, and the rocks melt with the sun. Oh, I will love thee still, my dear, while the sands of life shall run. And fare thee well, my only love, and fare thee well a while, and I will come again, my love, though it were 10,000 miles. That's a beautiful picture of human love. But here's a better one. Could we with ink the oceans fill? Were every stalk on earth a quill? Were the skies of parchment made, and every man a scribe by trade, to write the love of God above would drain the ocean dry, nor could the scroll contain the whole, though stretched from sky to sky. Love has its origin in God. If there's no God, my friend, there is no real love that lasts. If there's no God, there's no right and wrong. It doesn't matter if someone steals your wallet or robs you of your car or kills a member of your family. Dostoevsky says everything is permitted if there's no God. I want you to think of the alternatives. Life as shambles, or a life illuminated by God. You know, there's only one man who's ever lived who claimed to be God and was not thought mad. A man who claims to be God is either bad or mad or what he claims to be. Everything in life that pretends to be a key to our lock turns out to be another lock. When the theory of evolution came in, it was thought we had the key to the universe. But after years, we learned about DNA, that every speck of dust has a meter containing millions of pieces of information in order that the universe might exist, the world might exist, you and I might exist. When we studied electrons, we thought we had a key to the universe. Suddenly we found that each electron was a universe in itself. May I suggest to you, dear friend, the only key to life, the only key to the problems of our existence is a relationship with God. When Sir Arthur Keith was asked, what follows this life? He said nothing. Life goes out like a candle. Was he really right? Are you and I only cosmic dust? Are we harassed, driven leaves, and that's all of it? Really? There was a man 2,000 years ago who pointed to the blazing orb in the sky, the sun, and said, I am the light of the world. What a ridiculous comment. Unless he really was. The historian Lecky says 3 short years recording the life and actions of Christ have done more to regenerate and soften the world than all the disquisitions of philosophers and all the talking of moralists. How true. What other claims did this man make? He says, all authority in heaven and on earth is given unto me. He said, all of nature is mine. He could hush the sea to sleep. He said, all the angels of heaven were his. They would come with him when he came the second time. He claimed to be the saviour of the world. He spoke a lot about love. The most famous sentence ever written comes from him. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him might not perish, but have everlasting life. What a sentence! What a God! God so loved, that's his main characteristic, that he gave, he's full of grace, always giving his only Son. How generous a Son, a gift was that Son. That whosoever believeth, there's the gospel. Good, glad, merry tidings, makes the heart to sing and the feet to dance. That whosoever believeth might not perish, but have everlasting life. There's glory, to be with God, to be with the best men and women who've ever lived, forever and ever. Well, Christ gave us that. He said he was the Redeemer of the world, but also the Judge of the world. He claimed to have existed before Abraham and to enjoy glory with God before the world was. But can we trust these books? Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. I think the scholar C.H. Dodd was correct when he said genius never comes out of a committee. There's no evidence there was a conspiracy to write these books. They differ in details. They wouldn't have differed if they'd been the product of a group of careful liars. And Durant, Will Durant, I like him the best of all the historians of the last century. He said these books contain things would never have been written by falsifiers. They tell about followers who competed for a place in the kingdom. They say he fled from him when he was attacked. One denied him with cursing and swearing. Others refused to believe. And then Will Durant says, there is no evidence that these books are not strictly historical. Christ was a real person. He was so convinced he was right. He risked the lives of his friends to promote his teachings, as though the establishment of his kingdom was more important than human life. What a thing to do. He survived the test of apparent failure, while on the cross, rejected by church and state. He spoke sometimes as though on a sunny pavement when he prayed for his crucifiers and offered paradise to a penitent thief and committed his mother to the care of his beloved disciple. You know, if there'd been no Christ, it would have taken a Christ to invent the four Gospels. In Matthew, there are 60 places where the writer says Christ fulfilled a certain prophecy or type of the Old Testament. 60. Could there have been one flaw in the life of Christ? All of Christianity would evaporate. C.S. Lewis said, if Christianity is not true, it doesn't matter. But he said, if Christianity is true, it matters infinitely. Christ never experienced any feeling of guilt in himself. That's contrary to all other good men and women. Think on this. If he was altogether good, then he was altogether God. May he bless you this day, my dear friends.